I'm making the bulk of this workbench from 2x4s, following the same modular workbench fashion as a bunch of my other videos. I'm starting off by cutting 4 posts, all at 30 inches. Next I need 4 width stretchers, all cut at 21 3/4 inches. And then I need 4 depth stretchers, all cut at 19 inches. Now all of the stretchers, I'm adding pocket holes to them because I'm going to assemble this whole frame of the workbench with pocket screws. To assemble the frame, I'm starting off with posts and width stretchers, and I'm making what essentially is 2 face frames, and these later on are going to be connected by the depth stretchers. Typically, I try to clamp the pieces together as I'm adding the pocket screws here for the depth stretchers, and I also try to measure things so it's lined up correctly. But in this case, I'm just plopping it on and screwing it together without really trying to line anything up, just to demonstrate that it still works out even if it's not perfect. That being said, it's still recommended to try to square up and line things up as best as possible. Next, for the casters, I take some 2x4 scraps and I screw and glue these on the bottom so there's more room for the caster plate to sit on. Now I need a cabinet box that I can add some drawers to. So starting with the cabinet box part, I'm going to make that from a 3/4 inch piece of plywood, actually just a half sheet, 4 foot by 4 foot. And I'm first cutting out 2 sides from that at 21 1/4 by 22, then a bottom at 21 1/4 by 21 1/2, and then a face piece at 21 1/2 by 23. Now I'm going to take the remaining scraps from that and cut them at 20 inches, and these will be used for braces on the cabinet box. Typically I use screws to assemble cabinet boxes, but just to demonstrate a different method, I'm showing here how I use glue and 18 gauge brad nails to assemble the entire cabinet box. As you can tell from adding the cabinet box, the frame isn't exactly squared up. Like what I mentioned before, just going the fast route, it's not going to be squared up, but it still works just fine. But moving on to the drawers, I'm making these from a half sheet of 1/2 inch plywood. And for these I'm starting off with 2 bottom pieces at 18 by 18 inches, and then I'm cutting 4 sides at 18 by 7 inches, and then I'm cutting 4 front and back pieces at 19 inches by 7 inches. Just like the cabinet box, I'm assembling the drawer boxes just with glue and 18 gauge brad nails. And again, there's a lot of ways to make drawer boxes. All I'm doing here is demonstrating a very easy way to make drawer boxes that is still effective. Now you probably noticed I haven't used that 3/4 inch face piece that I cut out before. That's going to be for the drawer faces. So for that I'm cutting it about in half because I have 2 drawers here. Now in that gap above the cabinet box, I'm going to be adding some sliding tops. So this way this workbench will expand to different sizes if you need more workspace, but still maintain a small form factor. For this, I'm cutting 12 pieces of 2x4 at 24 inches. Next, I'm using the table saw just to clean the edges and remove the round over. Of course, a joiner or hand plane could be used instead, but this is just one other method. I'm trimming the top to 18 inches wide because my depth stretchers are 19 inches and my drawer slides each take up about a ½ inch of space. Of course, it's always good to check with the drawer slides you're using and just measure how much space you have between the two frames, just to make sure you have this accurate. Next, I have to add the main top, which is going to sit on top of the frames. For that, I'm cutting 8 pieces of 2x4 at 32 inches. And of course, I'm following the same steps as the sliding tops, so I'm not going to show that again.